What's up, guys? Welcome back to Michigan Muckraker. My name's Michelle. Today is September 12th of 2023, and today I'm going to talk about Maui. And before I get started, I, of course, want to give my sympathies to all of the people who lost loved ones in Maui. What's happening there is absolutely devastating. It's a disaster for America and for humankind in general. I'm going to talk today, as you saw in the thumbnail, a lot about the Transportation 2040, Maui Transportation 2040, and the Sustainable Development Plan for Hawaii, the state. Now, every single state has a plan like this, a sustainability plan, and most cities that are going to be a 15-minute city or a future city, they also have a master plan. So Grand Rapids, for instance, has its own master plan, as does the state of Michigan. Um, it's unfortunate that Maui is now out of the news cycle, but there's still a lot to talk about and a lot that's being hidden. And so I'm going to try to share as much as I can with you today, but there's enough for probably two more videos of information out there. So thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I hope that I can show you something new that you haven't seen already on the Maui fires. Good morning, Shelly. Caught me live. Thank you. And good morning, Dragonfly. Thank you guys for being here. I'm going to jump right in. As I said, I have, like usual, tons of information. Let's see, put me down there. So I'm going to start out with something that is a little weird, and that is a top FEMA official was in Hawaii before the Maui fire started, but it was for a conference. So something that was pointed out, and Biden even said himself, I think that's where everybody got the information originally, was from Biden, that yes, he admitted a top federal emergency management agency official was already on the ground in Hawaii even before the Maui fire started. Now, this is AP, they're going to fact check it, missing context. Biden officials confirmed that Bob Fenton, a regional administrator for FEMA, had been in Hawaii for an annual gathering hosted by the agency in Oahu? No, that's probably wrong. An island separate from Maui. So because he was there for a different on a different island for a different thing, it's it's not it's just a coincidence. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just a coincidence. I'm not going to get into this entire thing, but I thought that was it was weird. Now, right now, Maui, this was the 11th, but it's still continuing. Maui burns, Biden requests 24 billion for Ukraine and just 12 billion in federal disaster aid. We're going to give $24 billion to another country while our own people suffer. That's what this administration does, but it is just big government. Big government is absolutely corrupt. Right here, wait, I'm sorry, I had one more. There, September 8th. The White House funds for Maui and Florida to be withheld unless Congress approves more money for Ukraine. So they tied it up with that Ukrainian money. So if people do not vote for Ukraine to get more money, then they are voting against the people of Maui and Florida for the hurricane that just happened. Those two states need help, and yet they can't get it. So these are just things that I think that you should be aware of. You can make up your own mind if you're for funding Ukraine, but to have them tied up with funds for FEMA, I think that of course, is absolutely not just wrong. It's what's worse than wrong. But we're going to go over here. Restrictions lifted for Lahaina Gateway, Walgreens area. This just happened yesterday. So if you aren't aware, a big black wall has been put up all around the site. It's basically martial law, and people have not been allowed to go to their own properties and to see the devastation for themselves, to try to recover any possessions, any of that. They have not been able to go back to their homes. Maui County restrictions triggered by fire evacuation orders August 8th were lifted Tuesday for the Lahaina Gateway and Walgreens parcels on Kauai Street. Kauai? Businesses in both parcels are open, although the public is advised to follow health recommendations and should continue to use caution when in the area, the county said. An unsafe water advisory remains in effect for portions of Lahaina, including the areas where the Lahaina Gateway and Walgreens are located. Hawaiian Electric confirmed that the Lahaina Gateway and Walgreens sites have power. There are no concerns over structural safety or hazardous material, according to county officials. The two parcels are not located in Lahaina wildfire disaster area. The Lahaina disaster area, which holds hazardous debris, includes the area delineated by government-placed barriers, according to Mayor Richard Bison's third emergency proclamation that went into effect August 15th. Entry into disaster area remains prohibited unless authorized by law due to health and safety risks and to protect against criminal property damage, the county said. Of course, everybody that lives there, they're highly upset about the situation, and they know the government is covering up something, and they are acting extremely corrupt. And I'm going to show you a video of people going to their, I believe it's a township board meeting, and expressing their concerns. And I feel kinship with these individuals for so many reasons, not just because they're fellow Americans or fellow human beings, but also because I have recently been to board meetings, and I know that they don't really seem to listen. The government doesn't seem to listen to the people anymore. They don't seem to care, even down to a township. So it's concerning, but again, I'm going to share it with you because these people know what's going on, and they're trying to call out their government, and so we need to share that message far and wide. The Lahaina fire is 100% contained, but not yet extinguished. It burned about 2,170 acres and 2,200 buildings and killed at least 115 people. There are 2,000 children missing. 2,000. Now, we don't know what happened to those children because the parents were at work while the kids were sent home from school. And I have some very concerning news to share with you about some school buses. So I'm going to jump over and share the video that shows a few things.
United States are fed up. They know this was a land grab. They know this was an attack on these citizens for their land, to change the layout of Maui, to make it more accessible, to make it more convenient, to make it more eco-friendly.
Rotary, lived here on Oahu since 1980, father, grandfather. This is an emotional meeting. Nani, you mentioned a moment ago, this is not about Maui. This is absolutely about Maui. And my concern, and I'm actually speaking to each of you sitting around this table. Each of you have a placard representing an organization. And I have a question before I actually have my testimony. By a raise of hands, are any of you participating in an event, in a restructuring as a stakeholder on Maui at any level, whether you're state, federal, private, or a private citizen? Are you engaged? Are you a stakeholder? Are you written? Is your name listed as a stakeholder of any of the redevelopment plans regarding a smart city? By a raise of hands, I would like to see a raise of hands, because the information is out there. Raise of hands. I can tell you, Department of Planning, DLNR, DBED, Housing, all of these agencies, and I'm not saying to you directly, but you're here representing these agencies. Therefore, it is your responsibility to tell the truth. Each one of these agencies have signed on as stakeholders for the redevelopment of a smart city in Maui. I'm asking you again, who has signed on?
So I'm sorry, but I asked for testimony pursuant to the agenda, and there's nothing on the agenda about smart cities. And if we could also refrain from yelling.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'll provide clarification.
Do you think that he was yelling? This is the type of gaslighting crap that goes on even in Green Charter Township. If people don't yell, but they might get a little bit emotional because this is our lives that you're talking about. This individual, this is his life. These are the people that these are his neighbors. He's allowed to get a little bit emotional about what happened. He's not being aggressive in any way, and yet she turns it around on him. It's so disgusting. That lady is disgusting, and saying it's not on the agenda. Why not? Nothing is bigger and more important than what just happened.
Smart cities is everything about housing. The idea that you're going to sit around this table, and I realize it's not on today's agenda, but the idea that you're going to sit around this table and make decisions about the long-term viability of sustained life on Maui without the people's input, I can tell you, is this a charade? It is true. Try go to Hele Mai Maui 2040.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We're going to take a
They take a break. I'm going to come back to this video. This individual was done speaking. This is how I found the plans that I knew were out there. They are for every, like I said, every state, every big city that's going to be a city in the future. They have a master plan. And so we're going to jump over to that plan. This is what he was talking about. The long-range transportation plan of 2040. And not once is a smart city mentioned. However, smart is mentioned several times, as we will see. And so that is how fact checkers get away with saying, no, there's no smart city in this plan. There's no talk of a smart city in this plan. It's because they don't say the word smart city. And yet, they basically say, go all the way around the topic. That's how they do it. So here are some individuals. Ooh, wow. Okay, that's strange. I can't highlight. I don't know about that. So you come over here and you see the community think tank includes the Maui Bicycling League, which is unsurprising. Maui Electric Company, Maui Cultural Lands, the high school, Timothy Jeffs, college, Spalding Realty, Maui Economic Opportunity. These are all individuals that helped create this plan. And of course, we have all of the departments of transportation, public works down here that was listed in that video as well. So we're going to continue on. Now, this plan, let's see, our charge. Maui Island is growing, creating challenges for our current transportation system, and our population is changing. The number of older adults is increasing. Young people are driving less than their parents. This is a key feature because they don't want anything but electric cars on Maui. People are asking for new ways to travel on the island. Are they? And they want safe connections to help them get to where they need to go. As we developed the Healy, I think is how we said it, Maui, we learned about your vision for the future of Maui and your ideas to help respond to those changes. Now, just like what Grand Rapids went through and any of these plans when they're being created, or at least when they say they're being created, they come in and they do have community events where they have people that are interested in helping shape the plan come in, but unfortunately those are directed meetings and they have facilitators, and it's called the Delphi Technique. I have spoken about it before. So it's a guided interaction. There are actual professionals that guide the community members into what the plan already really is, but so that way you feel like you have helped create the plan. So this plan is our 20-year plan to make moving around Maui safe and comfortable. It identifies transportation projects, services, and programs that improve transportation options for people of all ages. Developing a long-range transportation plan is a federal requirement. Yes, I'm sure that it is. Come over here, you see it started May 18th. The key public input point was here, and this is where the Delphi Technique took place. And then they started implementing it. Oh, there's a couple more key public input. I guess they haven't started implementing it yet. Call for projects and programs. Okay. Draft and final long-range transportation plan happened December of 2019, it looks like. Which it does say in the front that it was finished in 2019. I thought it was updated in 2022, but it doesn't say anything about it here. All right. We're going to continue on. And one thing I like to do to help me out, SMART. Creates a smart card fare collection system. So programs to maintain assets and invest strategically for economic viability. This bikeway facility maintenance program provides funding to clean and sweep bike lanes. Smart card fare collection system. So yes, creates a smart card fare collection system that integrates different transportation options. Why is it important? A single fare collection system breaks down barriers to using public transportation. I'm sure that this is part of the digital ID that they want us all on. And this is long term, so the next 12 to 20 years. So they don't think the digital ID will be ready until 2040, 2050. I thought it would be sooner, but I mean, that's heartening. We have time to combat that potentially. All right, so we come over here, total costs. Let me go back to find. Oops. Smart transportation, smart track. This sets a vision for Maui's transportation future, but how can we ensure that Maui is making progress towards that vision and achieving goals of safety, health, sustainability, connectivity, and more? This section outlines the performance measures for this plan, which can help track the investments and provide transparency and accountability. To receive transportation funding from the Hawaii Department of Transportation, State Capital Improvement Program, Major Special Maintenance Program, or any federal formula programs, Maui's MPO must evaluate transportation performance against federally required measures. This plan looks beyond the minimum federal requirements to reflect the values expressed as the plan developed. While consistent with HDOT's Smart Transportation Rank Choice Smart Track evaluation framework, this plan includes performance measures for each of the plan goals that will help to assess both the overall transportation system and specific project performance. These goals are important. So improve safety and promote health. Hawaii has subterranean tunnel. Yes, I am going to get to that too. I thought that this was really important to try to understand their plans. That's just how my brain works on the macro level. But you're absolutely right. I do have some video footage of underground tunnels. So there is some suspicious things going on, but like I said, I wanted just to focus for a minute on what their plans are, because they tell you what they're going to do. So there's no conspiracy about it, you know? This is what they want to do. Improve the safety, increase the amount of safe facilities for people walking and biking, increase physical activity by making walking and biking preferred modes of travel, and eliminate traffic-related fatalities and reduce serious injuries from traffic collisions. This is all justification for getting rid of vehicles, or at least not getting rid of, but having more electric buses. And if we do have electric vehicles, that they are shared. Because if you watched yesterday's video, then you know not every single person is meant to have a car in this new world order. Private cars are a thing of the past. So this is all pushing that idea through. Hey, it's to eliminate traffic-related deaths. It's to save people. Don't you want to save people? It's to get people healthy by walking and biking. Don't you want that? Enhance cultural and natural resources, climate resilience, and sustainability. improve climate resilience and adaptability of infrastructure, reduce transportation-related air emissions, protect, enhance cultural resources. And it does tell you the metrics. Coastal water quality to indicate effectiveness. They talk about it a couple times here that the coast, that it's going, the sea level is going to rise, and so we need to be prepared for that. It's like, how can you verify that? That's just fear-mongering. And yet they push it in here like it's a fact. The following performance measurement framework will allow the Maui MPO to monitor progress toward meeting the goals of this plan and also meet the federal or smart track performance monitoring requirements. See, they're saying smart track. This is just one of many smart things that are going to happen, but this is not a smart city, guys. It's not a smart city. A simple framework will help to better align transportation investment decisions with tangible and measurable benefits. All right. Goal 3, expand mobility choices to reduce traffic congestion, enhance reliability and connections in our transportation system, increase the number of options people have available, percent of people who take transit, walk, bike, and share rides for all types of trips. And you see, again, it's a getting away from private vehicles. Improve freight and transit movement. Goal 4, connect and strengthen communities to improve quality of life. Improve access to and resilience for town centers, schools, jobs, parks, and basic life needs. Number of towns within a 10-minute walk to a town center, institution, or essential service. 10-minute. Maybe it's supposed to be a 10-minute city instead of a 15. Invest in disadvantaged areas. Number of projects in low-income and historically underinvested areas, and provide mobility benefits to vulnerable populations. Goal 5, maintain assets and invest strategically for economic vitality. Bring existing infrastructure and transit assets into a state of good repair and balance cost-effective implementable projects with high. Okay. Continuing on. Now, if you type in SMART and keep going, I'm going to do this with Lahaina as well. Smartphone. Smartphones. Nearly 75% of residents drive alone to work. Ridership on Maui bus has declined 26%. And new mobility options like Uber and Lyft are just beginning to pop up on Maui. Technology is changing the way we communicate. We've heard that people are interested in biking, walking, taking transit, and sharing rides on the island. And we've also heard that they want the trips they do need to make by car or to be more reliable. However, making a variety of travel options a preferred choice to driving alone is challenging given the current transportation system and offerings. All right, so here we have some of the plans. Traffic congestion is that what that is talking about? Through our summer outreach, transportation hotspots. You know what? I'm going to show you this really quick. This is, let me zoom out. This is the project list and map. All of this I will have linked below so you can look for yourself. But if you look right here, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of projects that they want to bring to Lahaina area. And so if we zoom in, we see T3, which T3 is Lahaina Transit Hub. So this is going to be a key area for the transit bus system, smart buses and such that they want to put in place. And that, you can barely see it with that little blue right there. And then you have S8, which is street improvements, okay? I-14 and I-44, the highway intersection safety analysis. And this means that it's medium term, okay? So that's the key here. This is short term, they want to get this done, and then long term, they want to get this done. Let's see if we can zoom in just a little more. All right, so we got G3 is over here, West Maui Greenway and Multi-Use Path Phase 3. And you can't exactly see where it is, but this is all the area that got burned, so I can show you. I have a picture. This is all the area that was devastated by the fire. And these are burnt buildings. All these red buildings are burnt down. And here is another one. And you can see this is this was the residential area that got the most devastation right here.
That show off-limit areas in red and those safe to access in green. Right now, only parcels 5D and 5H are safe to enter. Those include businesses at Lahaina Gateway on the north side of Keawe Street and businesses in the Walgreens lot.
Some of these phases do take time, but we are going to be moving in a forward direction and continue to try to bring closure for the community and allow people to return home. We will also bring in structural engineers and building inspectors to assess the stability of some of the remaining structures to then again ensure the safety of access for the public.
Jen Boniza is on Maui and spoke with the EPA about their progress.
Joe, the EPA is tasked with clearing all of the hazardous debris from Ground Zero in Lahaina. But after over a week being there, they still have more than 1,700 properties that still need to be processed. I'm told it's going to be a long road ahead.
These are the type of containers that, the burnt containers will be repackaged into.
It's a painstaking process, the collection and removal of dangerous household items like batteries, propane tanks, pesticides, and other potentially toxic materials. But it's an essential part of the process and the first phase of the debris removal plan.
There's a lot of concern about exposures to residents as they come back into their parcels. And
any idea how long it may take you to complete this?
That's a tough question. We've been in the field for just over a week. As I mentioned, we've completed over 350 properties.
And more than 2,000 need to be swept. I'm told that this could take up to a year and more than $1 billion until Lahaina is completely clear.
Can you believe it? A year. A year before these people can potentially even go to their own house. I'm going to continue on with this. So this is the multimodal options that they are trying to push on Maui. And if you go through this entire thing, you will see that sustainability, smart, equitable, resilient, all of these jargon words are used over and over. We're going to go, instead of smart, I'll go back to that, but Lahaina. Now, well, many people take long trips to work, like to Lahaina. It generally takes less time for people to get there. Okay. Lahaina bypass. So there's definitely lots going on in Lahaina. This right here. You zoom in if I can. There we go. And this is a new corridor that they want to put in right here, right through Lahaina. And it looks like it's right through, it looks like it's right through where those residents were living. This is where the residents were living, and that area was burned to the ground. And this is a new road. I'm assuming it just says a new connection, new connections. So I'm assuming it's a road. But I saw that, and that's unbelievable. It's going right through Lahaina. I mean, it's believable, but it's awful. I'm going to continue. Sorry. This is the best way I know how to do it. There's just so much information, and yet, there we go. This says Maui, the projects HDOT identified for state legislators are Lahaina Bypass North. So definitely a target. Lahaina Town. Lahaina parking revenues. Yes. So a parking action plan was completed for, I'm sorry I butcher these names, Wailaku Town and Lahaina Town in February 2018. Ideally, parking programs should be self-sustaining, with a portion of revenues reinvested into the towns via parking benefit districts and guided by parking advisory committees. Lahaina parking revenues could be used for Front Street improvements or relocation of the Lahaina Transit Hub. This town's parking revenues could be used for event planning, shuttles, and public art. Parking action plan recommendations are to implement on-street paid parking in portions of Lahaina Town, which could net the county almost $780,000 per year, and off-street hourly and permit parking in 2 lots to generate $442,000 per year. So they do, again, I'm just showing you they have plans for this area that the people of Lahaina not selling their property was definitely, they were in the way of these plans. State funds are available to support the creation of affordable housing near transit. So we just discussed that they want to put the transit in Lahaina, and now they want state funds. They're actually available to support the creation of affordable housing near transit. Let's see, transit corridor planning can be done for other parts of Maui as well, particularly in Lahaina and Kihi. All right, so that's funding. All right, come over here. And this is just showing you the map. This is from their West Maui community plan. This all right here was residential. And this is public, quasi-public. I don't know what quasi-public means. Like, let me know in the comments. What's quasi-public mean right here too? But this is majority of where the fire was. And this, all that yellow was residential. So I'm going to once again show you. This was the fire. Most of it residential. This part wasn't destroyed. This is the quasi public land right here. And then this area right here also did not get damaged. So we come over here and it's, whoops, this is similar map, but not the exact same. So you come over here and it looks like, I wish I could put it side by side. Alas. Yeah, this area right here is transit-oriented corridor, and this is the employment center. One more time, switch over. This right here, I think, is the transit corridor, and this is the area, I believe, that is opened up now. So, just an FYI for you. You know, it looks one way to me, but maybe it looks another way to you. I'm going to show you this video right here.
And the Salvation Army is still listing on its website that it partnered with a group called Chef Hui, which you know.
Yes.
Leo, hey, stop. Sorry.
To deliver food aid in the days immediate aftermath of the fire.
Yes.
That organization obviously is receiving federal and state funds. My question to you is, given that those chefs and those restaurateurs and those suppliers were providing the Salvation Army with that food that they were distributing at their own costs, is the state doing anything to pick up the slack and pay those bills for those people? Many of those restaurants are facing furloughs, closures right now because they paid out of pocket to give food to an organization that was being financed to do the work that they were doing.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So I went and met with them. They're extraordinary people. We do intend to give them grants to pay for a lot of their overhead and the costs that they've put in. I can talk more broadly about the monies that we're beginning to make available, but the Chef Hui and the food that they're going to need to provide going forward, we intend to do contracts with them because right now, as you know, most people are in hotels. which makes it a little bit easier for people to set up meal delivery services, and they've been incredible. But soon, thousands of people are going to be in Airbnbs all across Maui, and they're going to have to come to central places. The Chef Hui is going to be very important. So we've committed ourselves to getting them grants. A couple of piles of money that are going to be available, okay? First of all, you know we have a large contract with the Red Cross, okay? So that helps a lot for housing and, of course, some of the wraparound food services and social services. In addition to that, I've authorized $100 million of TANF funding. That's temporary assistance for needy families. That's going to look something like 3,000 or 4,000 families are going to share in that $100 million. In addition to that, we've authorized a cap for our budget and finance people to go up to $100 million of overall expenditures. I put $30 million in there immediately. They're going to be putting another $35 million in the near future. Those are the kind of monies that can go to grants. And then there is the small business loans, some of which will be for restaurants. So there's a lot of different things going on, but they should have grants directly for their costs.
Chef Hui restaurateurs that they're being declined for SBA loans because they received money during the pandemic, for example, and that there are restaurateurs that are not getting monies quickly enough and they are failing.
So let me tell you a couple things. So for businesses in general.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna pause it again. It's not going as smooth as I like, but you know, that's what happens when you do it live. It's raw. This is what I wanted to show you. I don't know if I passed it.
Climate change. And what we do in Hawaii, we will be able to lead by example as far as mitigating efforts and our pain. When people see the pain that we have suffered, they're going to take us seriously. It's an unusual thing for a person like me to get to speak to a very broad audience, you know, a broad international audience, but I will make this case. I
like how they yes, he was going to say smart city. That's what I wanted to show you. I think I passed it on this other one, but yes, that is Josh Green, by the way. He is the governor of Hawaii. He went to the United Nations in July to discuss the sustainability goals and reaffirm Hawaii's commitment to implementing those United Nations goals. So we come over here, and this article is from California Globe, September 12th. Hawaii Governor Green puppet for the United Nations. Governor doubled down on commitment to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals just 1 month before Maui fires. Citizens across the nations have been shaken by recent news regarding the devastating wildfires in Maui County, Hawaii. CNN reported the wildfires ripping through Maui will likely be the largest natural disaster the state of Hawaii has ever seen, Governor Josh Green said Thursday, as the blaze have killed dozens, displaced thousands of others, and wiped out communities. Historic Lahaina is burnt to the ground. Maui's Lahaina town, a tourism hub and historic whaling village, has been decimated. None of it's there. It's all burnt to the ground, Mayor Richard Bison said Thursday. Governor Green estimated that about 80% of the community is destroyed. CNN's chief climate correspondent Bill Weir described the scene. All the iconic buildings are either flattened or just scorched skeletons of their former self. Just 1 month prior to the fire, Governor Green's office issued a press release to highlight their commitment to the United Nations 17 Goals for Sustainable Development. Hawaii's second voluntary local review, VLR, presented by Governor Josh Green, MD, to the United Nations during high-level political forum on sustainable development July 12th, presents a good news, bad news scenario. The review highlights progress on achieving the 6 Aloha Plus Challenge goals, which are the state's local implementation of the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and clearly define what is lacking. Hawaii stands as the sole state in the United States to have submitted a VLR, with the report being prepared by Hawaii Green Growth, with input from local partners. As the world reels with new undeniable impacts of climate change, it leads another level of urgency that Hawaii youth express in the VLR. We cannot put off changing things any longer. We refuse to stand idle when 23 looms closer and closer. We only have one island, Earth, Let us do our best to take care of it and each other. We are one species with one planet, one chance. Hawaii's status on its goals can be seen on the Alaho Plus dashboard for predictive planning. The state is on track to meet its 2030 targets of renewable energy and energy efficiency, but not for clean transportation, with its goal of reducing petroleum usage to 165 million gallons per year. The most recent data show that 472 gallons per year were used. Now, if they put a transit where the individuals used to live, then we will all know for a fact, for sure, 100%, that it was a land grab. There will be no denying it if they put their transportation hub, as they said they want to do, in Lahaina. And that transportation hub will be for electric buses and electric cars. The goal to double food production by 2030, first introduced by the 2050 Sustainability Plan in 2008, is not on track. Production of most crops have not increased at a pace to reach the goal, but there was a 4% increase in the number of farms from 2012 to 2017. Progress, however, is difficult to measure because of lack of funding for agricultural statisticians. The progress of health, nutrition, and access goal was hindered by the pandemic when food insecurity increased from 11% to 16% between 2018 and 2020. Existing conservation commitments and the Sustainable Hawaii Initiative informed the natural resource management goals of effectively managing 30% of Hawaii's nearshore waters by 2030. You hear that? The existing conservation commitments and the Sustainable Hawaii Initiative informed the natural resource management goal of effectively managing 30% of Hawaii's nearshore waters by 2030. Why 30%? Is that part of the America the Beautiful initiative? Watershed projection, 20.5% of the 30% target reached, and invasive species control, 68%, are both on track, while freshwater security, marine management, and protection of native species need work. The solid waste goal recommits to a previous law mandating 50% of reduction by 2000 and an increase in 2020 by 70% to 70% by 2030. So I did just read something about this in that plan, if I can find it again, about cesspools. By 2050, they will all be managed by the government. The state will run all the cesspools, which is septic tanks. Same thing, but shallower, I'm assuming, because it's an island. Recycling is the good news on this goal. Public, private, and community recommendations contributed to the SMART Sustainable Communities Goal, which measures affordable housing, economic prosperity, disaster management, resilience, and mobility. Economic prosperity, as measured by the self-sufficiency standard income level, improved. But in 2020, 9% of people were below the federal poverty line, and 33% were asset-limited, income-constrained employed households. Alice, wow. Asset-limited, income-constrained employed households. Never heard of that acronym until now. The Housing Affordability Index is trending downwards. More data are needed to access resilience, but a local index is being developed. The Green Workforce and Education Goal recognizes the importance of education, jobs, innovation, and integrated green economy in achieving Hawaii's sustainability goals. The goal measures workforce development, needs improvement, but as of February 2023, the unemployment rate decreased to 3.2%. It goes on about their goals. Governor Green represented Hawaii at two key events at the 2023 United Nations High-Level Political Forum, the only U.S. state leader to do so. The only leader. And not even a month later, just a couple weeks later, you have this disaster that just conveniently clears out where they want to put a new connection and a transit hub. His remarks at the local, regional, and government forum and the local 2030 Coalition special event noted Hawaii's unique contribution to the global community rooted in its community values, and the governor extended Hawaii's spirit of aloha via Hawaii Green Growth UN Local 2030 Hub, the Local 2030 Islands Network, and the Aloha Plus dashboard as key platforms for achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals locally and globally. I continue to talk about the United Nations, and I will continue to talk about the United Nations because it's unbelievable how many people do not know about this plan. Do not know about this plan right here, because everything that's happening, it was laid out in 1992 when they went to the Earth Summit. It was laid out for you what they're going to do, what they want to do, and maybe even how they're going to do it. But we're seeing how they're doing it right now. Hawaii recently made a commitment to use 100% renewable energy. The state spends a great deal of money on fossil fuels, and this money can be better spent within the state on renewable energy projects. Governor Ige said that currently about 23% of Hawaii's electricity is generated through renewable sources, and the state leads the country in terms of rooftop solar power, which makes sense because if solar is going to work anywhere, it would be Hawaii, right? Hawaii also partnered with Japanese companies for renewable energy, including Hitachi and Jumpstart Maui. It's kind of funny that our governor just went over to Japan for a week to bring in businesses. I wonder if either one of these businesses will, or any Japanese companies will come here. We'll see. I'm going to keep my eye out on it. Yeah, Jumpstart Maui. Smart grid technology and data analytics have also been implemented. Smart grid technology and data analytics. The focus on renewable energy shows Hawaii's commitment to invest in itself rather than sending money outside the state for energy. While the United Nations, Japanese, and state of Hawaii are eager to shift to 100% renewable energy, the adverse effects have been ignored according to the Endangered Species Coalition. Renewable energy production often destroys habitats and hurts wildlife. Even if there are regulations against this, the sites can still cause harm to animals. Solar panels, for example, take up a lot of space and drive animals out of their habitat. Energy production affects biodiversity with its construction and placement. Renewable energy is supposed to be environmentally friendly, but it damages local ecosystems and threatens endangered species. For example, take the effect of solar energy development on Mojave Desert tortoises. I just talked about this yesterday, and I have not read this article yet. I usually kind of skim over, see that has some good information, and then share it with you so that even I learn something. Try to meet in the middle so it's not, I never want it to be scripted. They never are scripted, but I also try to have some kind of plan in place. But Mojave Desert tortoises are unfortunately being severely harmed by the solar panels that are in the Mojave Desert now. And so why aren't people upset about this? Just like the whales in the water, why are people not upset that are supposed to be for life on Earth? That's what they say they're for anyway. The tortoises live up to 80 years, but the threat to their habitat puts those lives in danger. The plan meant tortoises would likely be displaced and struggle to adapt. No, they won't adapt. They are very sensitive. That's why they're endangered. And any kind of contact whatsoever will make them lose the water that they have and thus kill them. That is why you're not supposed to be around them at all. You're supposed to leave them the hell alone. Sacred sites to the Hawaiians within Maui County, and specifically Lahaina, have now been demolished following the disasterly wildfire. How will these circumstances affect the history and culture of the region? And will the government solution for restoration embrace the best interests of the people rather than profit? On August 10th, President Joe Biden approved a Hawaii disaster declaration following the fires. Today, President Biden declared that a major disaster exists in the state of Hawaii and ordered federal aid to supplement state and recovery efforts in the area affected by wildfire. Let's see. FEMA has been appointed to coordinate and it's all been bad. At times, martial law may be utilized for the temporary substitution of military authority for civilian rule and is usually invoked at time of war, rebellion, or natural disaster. Per the U.S. Department of Justice, a 1989 article discusses martial law in times of civil disorder. Now, Unfortunately, this is what is going to happen, I think, next year or the year after. Either by the end of 2024 or 2025, America will see martial law because of civil disorder, or at least that's what they say. When martial law is in effect, the military commander of an area or country has unlimited authority to make and enforce laws. Martial law is justified when civilian authority has ceased to function, is completely absent, or has become ineffective. Further, martial law suspends all existing laws as well as civil authority and the ordinary administration of justice. In the United States, martial law may be declared by proclamation of the president or a state governor, but such a formal proclamation is not necessary. Although the U.S. Constitution makes no specific provision for the imposition of martial law, nearly every state has a constitutional provision authorizing the government to impose martial law. The power of martial law, once held to be nearly absolute, has limitations. For example, civilians may not be tried by military tribunals as long as civilian courts are functional. Nonetheless, within the boundaries of court decisions, a military commander's authority under martial law is virtually unlimited. Martial law has been declared 9 times since World War II, and in 5 instances was designed to counter resistance to federal desegregation decrees in the South. So, martial law right now is happening according to some individuals on the island. Now, there is a lot of confusion because the government is being so secret about everything. And that continues to make people question more what is going on, of course. So we come over here, kind of bouncing around, probably a little bit too much, but what can be done? We come here, and this is the official site for the plan of 2040, and you see the plan elements. You go to executive summary, and you type in nope, I'm not seeing it on here. Must have been a different one. And no smart either. I love when I can't find exactly what I'm looking for. Alas, it happens. So, Hawaii 2050 Sustainability Plan. This is charting a course for the Decade of Action, United Nations Decade of Action going on right now from 2020 to 2030. And in this, you will see the commitment of the Hawaii government to the United Nations. The United Nations designated 2020 to 2030 as the Decade of Action. I'm going to see if I can zoom in. Can I? There we go. A time to accelerate progress toward achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, a globally unified set of 17 targets. The people of Hawaii are committed to and have built positive momentum toward achieving these goals across a range of public and private efforts to achieve the SDGs by 2030. In coordination with existing state policies, state and county agency programs, and voluntary initiatives such as Aloha Plus Challenge and the Sustainable Hawaii Initiative, this Hawaii 2050 Sustainability Plan recommends additional actions to achieve near-term solutions for Hawaii's climate resilience and economic, social, and environmental sustainability. To inform the evolution of Hawaii's new normal and consistent with a community-driven approach, this updated plan employed an extensive engagement outreach process that included 2 public surveys, multiple stakeholder interviews, and 9 virtual public information sharing sessions. 9 virtual public information sharing sessions. This public engagement process identified climate action as the top sustainability priority. You see, that's what they wanted. They wanted it to be identified as the number one the number one concern would be climate action. So whether or not the people even did say that that's what they were concerned about most, that's what we're hearing. But it is completely possible that those individuals were steered to say, yeah, that's what we need. You're right. Because of the information that was given by facilitators of the Delphi Technique. So the manipulation in that, so that they can say, you guys asked for it. That's what they do. They manipulate it so they can say at the end, you asked for it. Just like they said, nobody forced you to take it. Nobody forced you to take it. Well, I guess my definition of forced and your definition of forced is different. But anyway, input from this extensive public engagement informed the development of this plan by providing insights into the shared vision for Hawaii's sustainable economic recovery. The dialogue with stakeholders and the public recognized actions that organizations are already taking to achieve the SDGs, identified policy and program gaps, and recommended actions to enhance sustainability and climate change adaptation in Hawaii. This updated plan fulfills the revised scope of Hawaii 2050 Sustainability Plan to serve as the state's climate and sustainability strategic action plan. Pursuant to Hawaii revised statutes, Hawaii has made significant sustainability commitments through laws, policies, and plans that reflect our local values. For the first time, this updated plan presents Hawaii's commitments to as a collective whole and aligned with the SDGs for the first time. I mean, I haven't read through the entire plan, but what I have read, I mean, it should be really concerning to everybody, not just the people of Hawaii. Like, why are we, people in the United States, giving our power to the United Nations and their sustainable development goals? Everything that's being built is because of this Agenda 21 plan. Everything that's not being built, same thing, right? The new building codes, gas isn't a factor. Like, they want it to all to be electric. So in the building codes, it's following the United Nations Sustainable Development Plan, and not just in Hawaii, but everywhere. Look for yourself. Florida, Texas, certainly West Coast, all of the West Coast. I mean, all of the places have ties to the United Nations. Their plans have been to cater, to implement the United Nations agenda. That should be deeply concerning, because what about we the people? What about what we want? This plan identifies 8 focus areas with 38 strategies and more than 250 recommended actions that point to what is urgent to undertake over this decade. These focus areas align with priorities identified through public and stakeholder engagement, as well as ongoing commitments to the state has made as described in this plan. All right. We are going to find SMART. Integrating smart water resource management at all levels. In Hawaii, Maui, and the Kauai Islands, smart growth and transit-oriented developments, TOD, principles are being planned to encourage quality growth and vibrant mixed-use neighborhoods in urban or rural centers. Once again, unfortunately, I see the plan for Lahaina as not only the transit system, but the housing, affordable housing. This is mixed-use housing. These are buildings like you see. Anytime you watch the Michigan Strategic Fund, all of those projects that are being paid for are mixed-use housing with, on the bottom, a shop, and above them, people. That's where we will live and sleep. That's where our housing will be. And Hawaii is no exception. The Aloha Plus Challenge includes a smart, sustainable communities target to increase livability and resilience in the built environment through planning and implementation at the state and county levels. Utilize more smart and high technology to improve agricultural production in Hawaii. These are some strategies. There's ton of information in here to look at. If you live in Hawaii, you need to dive into this. You need to share far and wide with everybody you know. It's important to understand where your government is trying to lead you and the people, your neighbors, the people around you. Encourage smart growth strategies to foster urban infill development and redevelopment to significantly reduce the number of vehicular trips taken. reduce traffic and congestion, and GHG emissions. And they're significantly reduce the number of vehicular trips taken, a goal. Oh, I'm going to have to zoom out where it's loading. Why is it loading and not showing me where the smart word is? There we go. Expand microgridding, grid planning, cluster-based energy, and smart meters throughout the state. Smart meters. You know what I think about that? Run. Run, run, run. You have a smart meter and it's controlled remotely and you don't get to say. You want it at 72, they want you at 68. Who wins? Integrate state and county transit-oriented development and smart growth measures in creating sustainable and livable communities. Strategy 21, advance smart growth initiatives and multimodal transportation systems. Absolutely 100% Maui Transportation 2040. This strategy involves them, which of course involves Lahaina. Implement the interagency biosecurity plan by 2027. I need to look into that. I highlighted it because I've never heard of this, but it sounds like a lead to me. Come up here, smart sustainable communities, increase livability. Okay, once again, saying the same thing. By 2030, this is what they want. Clean energy, achieve 70% clean energy, local food, at least double the local food production, natural resource management, waste reduction, reduce the solid waste stream prior to disposal by 50% through source reduction, recycling, and bioconversion. Through source reduction. What does that mean? If the source of the waste is human beings, and they want to reduce the source, then they want to reduce the human being, the amount of human being. I'm questioning, what do you guys think? Oh, Dragonfly, thank you. Quasi-public, essentially public, as in services rendered, although under private ownerships or control. Thanks, Dragonfly. I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, what does that say to you? Through source reduction. Stop going to the bathroom so much, people. We have to reduce our waste. Now, it could be not just, human waste in that way. Of course, it could be like trash and stuff, but still the source is human beings, unless I'm confused, which, let me know in the comments. Integrating smart, yep, I already said that one. Continuing on. In Hawaii, these two islands, a smart growth transit-oriented development. Why are we seeing the same ones? Is that all of the smart? I've said them all? Perhaps. Looks like it. Okay, so now we're going to type in Lahaina. Nothing found. Nothing found specific for Lahaina in this entire plan. It goes through all of the goals, though. The commitment to address SD 13, all of them, all 17. It has details on how exactly they are going to implement Agenda 21. Which, again, I don't have time to get into it today, but it's extremely important for anybody that's living in Hawaii to look into that information. So now, this individual, I'm going to share what his experience is really quick. And
airport, and you can see there's no one here. Everything's basically been shut down. Tourists are being told not to come by a lot of locals, and the economy is at a standstill again here. And in fact, it's so empty that I'm doing this voiceover right now in the airport before I get on my plane, and there's no one within about 100 feet of me. So it's not even awkward or weird for me to sit here talking to myself. The fact that I'm leaving here means the gloves can come off and I can start saying a lot of the things that I didn't feel safe to say when I was on the island. I'm going to try to upload this before I get on my plane, but I don't know if that's going to work or not. But either way, when I get on the plane, I will post a picture or a video inside of the plane just before takeoff. as a story on TikTok to show that I managed to safely get off the island. And I know in the comments of some of the other videos that I've made, people have doubted that that would happen, but it's happening now. I'm getting out of here, which is bittersweet. Overall, it's a happy day for sure, considering how terrible the last month has been. But it was difficult to make this decision. I mean, when it comes to a natural beauty standpoint, this place is great. The weather's great. There's obviously beautiful beaches and mountains. There's no predatory animals. There's no snakes. You can't even get Lyme disease here. There's no tick-borne illness. So it has a lot of things going for it. But when I was here, I just really didn't feel free. I mean, for 18 years, I've done the same job and I've traveled all over the world, and I could really do my job anywhere aside from here. This is the first time in 18 years that I have been stopped from doing my job because we could not leave our home and we did not have internet. Well, we could leave our home. Let me correct that. Let me just correct that. We could leave our home, but we were being told that we could not come back, even though our home was 20 minutes away from a fire. And so if we can't come back, that would leave us with the prospect of being homeless downtown. So effectively, we could leave, but we'd be homeless. So because of that situation, you know, I couldn't get on the internet. We didn't have power, and that went on for quite a while. So I could do my job pretty much anywhere other than this place. And there was a lot of weird stuff that's happened here. The number one reason that I feel like there was no future here, and I really felt like it just was not the place for us anymore, is because when we were getting bossed around and kind of told that we needed to spend all day in the park getting permission slips to come back to our house and all this nonsense, the population here just really seems like they can be controlled by just a handful of people. I mean, there's thousands of people that are all getting told ridiculous things by just a couple of police officers. And I'm the only one asking questions. And I'm not saying that people should be, you know, rising up or anything, but they should be asking some damn questions and documenting and filming everything. And for some reason, the people here are either trusting of the government or fearful of the government in ways that I have never seen anywhere else on the mainland. And there's also many different policies here that don't exist on the mainland. For example, there's a general excise tax, which means everything at every level here gets taxed. Wholesale transactions get taxed. Things that I've never seen get taxed. And I think that's a big reason why in 2021, there was a tipping point where now there are more Native Hawaiians living in the contiguous 48 states than living here in Hawaii, and throughout all the islands combined. And that's, I believe, because you don't have the same opportunities here that you have on the mainland. And a lot of that is because of what I see as a tyrannical government here that controls the people in ways I've just never seen. And the people go along with it. And so that combination, those two things together, just means I don't want to be here, you know, and I don't want to find out what happens during the next disaster, because what I saw during this one, I mean, watch my previous episodes. And there is one thing I want to tell you guys, which I've had on certain platforms. I'm not going to pick on anyone in particular, but I have had some content pulled down. So what I'm going to say next, you know, I hope that you.
All right. So what he does say next is that he had people that hated him that were constantly posting a picture up of him, and it was the wrong picture. So it kind of protected, that hater actually protected him. But I am going to continue on. Now, I don't know if you saw about what happened with Oprah, but
the People's Fund of Maui.
Why don't you just call up your good buddy Biden?
Okay, so before she goes on her rant, I don't know if you saw that Oprah and The Rock basically created a fund and were asking for money and saying that what these people need is money in hand right now. But it's crazy because Oprah was there. She was recorded passing out pillows. So you're a billionaire and you're going to ask us, poor people, for money when you are the neighbor of these people. You own hundreds of acres on Maui. You're a billionaire. You're there right now. And you could give them the money right now. And yet you're asking us. You have the audacity to ask us. And not only that, but to say, I know it's hard to trust anybody, so send it to us. Like, are you serious right now? So this individual is one of many. You can see many people ranting about Oprah and The Rock asking for money and having the audacity to do so. I'm going to let this one play. Hopefully there's not a lot of swear words.
He sent billions, hundreds of billions to Ukraine. We have plenty of money going in from our taxes. We have plenty to take care of Maui. The irony of a fucking billionaire whose mansion did not get touched. You send them money. You and all your rich friends. How about Hollywood all donates? And we keep track of how much you guys send to Maui. You could rebuild that entire town if you wanted to. But we all know what you're up to. All those acres of land, all those missing kids. You're in on it. And we, the people, know it.
And there are thousands of videos just like that, which gives me some hope. People are waking up, they're rising up, but they know that, right? And so there will be countermeasures done. Is it going to be to lock us up once again? I don't know, but I'm going to do one more here.
We were so concerned about what was happening in Maui.
You're so concerned about what's happening in Maui that you somehow managed to hire a private firefighting team to protect your land before the fires started. You're so concerned about what's happening in Maui that instead of taking some of that land and housing even a small portion of those displaced people, you've hired a private security team to keep them off your land. You're so concerned about Maui that you simply haven't had time to denounce any of the shady real estate deals which are robbing people of everything they have, you know, like the ones you were involved in that helped you acquire that land for pennies on the dollar of what it was actually worth. You're so concerned about Maui that instead of taking what would amount to a year's salary for you and 4 or 5 of your billionaire friends, which could be used to rebuild the entire place in a matter of months, you're jumping on social media and asking the American public, most of whom can't afford to pay their rent right now, to do it for you. You're so concerned about Maui that it's more important that you get social media points than that you help.
Yep. So a lot of people out there that are aware, all you have to do is type in Oprah and The Rock into Twitter or anywhere, but Twitter, you know, there's a lot of uncensored stuff on Twitter. So I recommend going and checking out the pulse of the people because, again, I find it encouraging, but there will be retaliation. And so we need to be aware of that. Let's see. I'm going to bring it back over here. I have more to share from this individual's video.
A 5-minute break. I have repeatedly stated we are not discussing Lahaina.
Good morning.
Just to calm temperatures down. We will come back in 5 minutes. We're taking a recess.
You're all responsible, and I would like to talk to you when you say that it's not true. I can tell you, Hale Maui 2040. Look at the stakeholders, and you're going to find all of your departments listed as stakeholders. Okay, I'll be right here.
So I went and looked into this.
They're crying. Yeah, it's heavy right now. You should feel that heaviness because this was not a natural disaster. And I would like actually samples taken from the soil. You guys put the screen up. You won't let anyone see what's going on inside. But we know very well that you guys, as the third largest stakeholders, the state, do want that land and can take it when you deem it a natural disaster. And that is disgusting. And that is why I'm also here today, because someone needs to call that out. We wanted the samples right away. You guys stopped the people from going in. It's just awful.
Think of this as numbers for buildings, for money. What about the people? What about the families that have been destroyed by this fire? And for the record, I will say this. It was not a natural disaster. This emergency proclamation is a fall. And let me tell you why. Because all of the hearings you hear, all of the testimony you hear, all of the social media you hear, it connects the dots to what's happening in Lahaina. Lahaina was our first United Kingdom capital. Funny how all the common people were taken out in one fell swoop of a fire.
Hi.
All right, so that individual does say some things as well. I will leave it down below, but I'm going to bring it over here. More than 2,000 children from Lahaina Public Schools still missing.
And many of those people, perhaps over 1,000, happen to be children. And on top of that, we do have about 15 school buses missing.
This is what I wanted to show you, the school buses. I don't know if you saw this or not. It's a little hard to see, but right here, there are 3 buses, 4 buses, and 3 over here, it looks like. This is how many before the fires. Where did all the buses go? 16 long buses can hold 72 students. They are stored in this parking lot. Yep. It shows the same amount of buses of the day after the fire out of the 16 long buses. 12 long school buses are missing and 2 or 3 of the short buses. Total of 924 students can fit on the missing school buses. Total if used for 1 trip. Rough estimate of 1,000 or more missing children. They did not have school the day of the fire. Lahaina, Hawaii people do not have phone service or internet, so the people are having a hard time communicating to the world and are still trying to find their loved ones.
And there is underground areas in Hawaii. And now, with the original inheritance, with the original residents of this land being displaced and being put in other states, having to leave for other states, this just means this area is going to become more expensive. This is going to be an elite-owned land.
And that is what I see a lot of people say, is that, yeah, you won't be able to live on the island unless you're a millionaire or a billionaire. These are the tunnels.
It's crazy as hell and kind of trippy because, like, in our 4-wheeling and exploring around the cane fields, we found these things. We used to break into them and shit. And beforehand, like the first couple we found, we never could figure out how to get them running. So we always just climbed down the ladders.
Yeah, so right now they're riding some kind of elevator to an underground tunnel, and he just admitted that they found them all over the place from riding dirt bikes, and they've always had to just climb down because they couldn't figure out how to operate the elevator, but they have figured it out.
God knows how far we climbed without dropping us.
And these are secret hidden tunnels found 300 feet below Maui.
You guys got like crazy weird shit like this to go explore over there?
Not quite with elevator access, no. We'd have to do some serious breaking into and probably get in trouble, you know.
Yeah. What about like natural caves or anything like that?
Yeah.
There we go, there's upstairs. Nah, I don't think anybody. Ding, third floor, lingerie. Okay, close that silver door and let her out.
It looks like the buses could fit in these big doors that are underground. Like, what is this all about?
Like, this is a big furnace, and they used to burn wood in there to heat a boiler that powered those steam engines way the hell down at the bottom.
How old is this, bro?
I believe they started in the late 1800s and finished in the early 1900s.
There's some more underground. So I will leave this. You can see just how extensive these tunnels are, and you know, it's awful to contemplate. You know, you almost you hope they're with God at that point. Like, obviously it's awful to think about the alternative, that these kids could have been shipped somewhere. I don't want to contemplate it, but we have such evil people in the world. And so I have one more thing to share, that this is going to be a little bit, this is very speculative, okay? Extremely speculative. Jamie Green, wife of Hawaiian Governor Josh Green, sits on the board of directors of Hail Kaipa, a Hawaiian foster care service. Note the man-boy love symbol in the top left corner. Now, what they're saying right here, this is declassified information. 2007, the FBI released symbols and logos used by these individuals right here to identify sexual preferences. I don't like to self-censor at all, but I know that if I say that word, that I could be, that word is censored. So I'm just going to not say it. I'm sorry. But these symbols and logos are used, and this is the logo, which means little boy lover. This is the FBI declassified information. And you come over here, inside the logo is this. Why? Why is this inside the logo? Is it just a coincidence? I don't know. That's why I said it's speculation, but there it is. Youth Services Center, foster care system. Step Up Housing Program assists former foster youth in obtaining a safe and affordable place called home. The Step Up program is such a good resource for our former foster youth. The assistant program coordinator and housing specialist. Independent living programs that allows them an opportunity for housing that they would not normally be able to afford. I think that's a huge benefit for these young adults, but it comes with a lot of responsibility. So, again, speculation, but very weird. The symbol you see in, unfortunately, a lot of places, even Justin Trudeau Foundation has a symbol that actually looks exactly like this one. I mean, it's not different pretty much at all. So I don't know why they use the same symbols as the boy lovers, but I wanted to point that out because it's real information. All right. I do have some stuff to share with you, by the way, on directed energy weapons. So as soon as I'm done with a couple more things to show you, I will move on over to that.
Media has moved on from the Maui massacre, but you and I, we're still on it.
Shelly says, thank you for bringing all this together. Thank you for hanging out. And this video hasn't been the most structured, which bothers me a little bit in the back of my mind, but the information is here, and I will leave all of it down below so you can look at it for yourself.
A month has passed since the fire, and have any of you seen video of a parent or of those who've lost their family? Why is this not all over the news? Are we witnessing the greatest suppression of information ever? Is this not strange? There could be over 1,000 children missing or more, and yet we're not seeing or hearing anything still to this day? Something is not right. Something like hazardous waste being removed by the EPA from Lahaina and being transported to the gun range.
I'm here at the Ukumehame gun range where the US EPA is starting to bring hazardous waste from the Lahaina burn zone here. It's coming in from trucks and then put into these 55-gallon drums. Now, there are teams of about 80 people from the US EPA wearing white Tyvek suits. It is hot. They're in those respirators. It's very difficult work. This is the first step for cleanup before people can be allowed back into their homes. This process is expected to last several weeks to several months. Then the hazardous waste is shipped to the mainland. Now, along with removing the hazardous waste, the US EPA says it does have cultural monitors to make sure that the operation in Lahaina is as sensitive as possible.
Blue 55-gallon drums being moved. Nothing to see here, right? Let's not forget when the EPA told us that Roundup was less toxic than coffee. Let's also remember that the same chemicals that spilled during the train derailments are the same ones now being found in Maui. Volunteers are now helping to go through the remains of victims' property.
Volunteers are from an organization called Samaritan's Purse, a relief organization that's part of the Billy Graham Ministries. They're literally sifting through handfuls of ash where the owners believe some kind of precious item can be found before the area is sprayed with a sealant for safety and hazardous waste control.
Once they apply that,
why can't the people go in and do that? Why is it some stranger that gets to go in there and do that? And now, if the people want to do it, then they should be able to. They shouldn't, of course, be forced to do that if they don't feel like they want to, for obvious reasons. But I don't understand. For me personally, I would rather go in there than have some stranger.
You would no longer be able to sift or to do anything on that property.
The American people are on the search for answers, and in their quest for the truth, they're discovering many things that seem unusual.
This is a video that shows tunnels and walkways, stairwells under Maui. Questions have been coming up about missing people, specifically missing children. This would be a great way to move people around without anyone seeing. But that's not the intention of me sharing this video. Although that could be a potential, I hope and pray that that is not the case and that missing children are found.
And this.
I don't think people understand how much property Oprah actually owns on the island of Maui. You look up pictures of the house and this is what you see. You see her house, a mansion with her guest house is also a mansion. But this doesn't tell the full story. Zoomed out on Google Earth, she has this exact division of property, almost 1,000 acres that she owns solely. One person owns this much property on someone else's sacred land. Nobody needs that. Her property has its own private road that only a few people can use. So when you go and you look at pictures of Oprah's house on Maui and you only see stuff like this, just know that's not her property. She owns 1,000 times more than what you're seeing. She bought all that property somehow for $6.6 million. If you go and you estimate the value of all that acreage now in Maui, it's over $300 million.
Well, listen, the guy that owns the island right next to him, who I do have a little bit of information about, he bought his property. He bought the island, 98% of the island, for $300 million, and the guy wanted like double. So how did he get it for that much less? Did he make deals with the guy? I mean, these powerful billionaires.
So basically, she could sell a third of that land back to the people of Maui at full market price, which is still evil, and use that $100 million to give it back to the people of Maui. No one person needs that much property of any island. It's ridiculous.
And this.
We were so concerned about what was happening in Maui.
You're so concerned about what's happening in Maui that you somehow managed.
Is the first non-Hawaiian to lead the police force. As per John's LinkedIn page, he graduated.
Oh, see, that's another thing. This guy is also the coroner because there wasn't another coroner. So this guy that was working for the Las Vegas during the Las Vegas shooting is now the Maui police chief, commander, whatever they call it, who has never been a non-Hawaiian before, but now is. I did not know that piece of information. And by the way, this guy's name is Hustle Bitch. That's his channel name. I recommend his channel. He has been keeping up with Maui better than most people that I have seen. And he has videos out all the time, along with the Hawaiian real estate guy who does interviews with people on Maui. So those two, I highly recommend. I'll have them linked both below.
Police chief.
I think his name is silly, but hey, it's his name.
John Pelletier is the first non-Hawaiian to lead the police force. As per John's LinkedIn page, he graduated from the FBI National Academy. He's going to use that FBI training to carefully craft his responses when dealing with the Hawaii State Attorney General's third-party investigation that is underway.
Tonight, some of the key agencies responding to the deadly Lahaina wildfire are pledging cooperation with the State Attorney General's third-party investigation. But legal experts say, for now, it's all voluntary.
Well, Steph, H&N Investigates asked several agencies if their leaders would agree to be interviewed by the independent investigators. Maui Mayor Rick Bisson's office didn't respond, and so far, only one leader answered our question specifically.
You aren't under a court order to compel you to say anything or to speak to anyone. It's totally, at this point, voluntary.
H&N Investigates asked the major players of the Lahaina wildfire response if they'll be interviewed by the third-party investigators. They didn't answer specifically if their leaders would be interviewed.
Speaking of the FBI, they have now released a verified list of the unaccounted people from the Maui fire.
The FBI says there are 385 people reported unaccounted for after the Lahaina wildfire, that is. It's about the same number as the first list, but most of the names are now different. The county says since the original list came out, 245 people were found safe, but 242 new names have been added. These are verified real people with a confirmed first and last name and a contact number from the person who reported them missing.
Oh, hey, morning. Y'all awake? Listen to the man.
We're working 24/7 here in Florida and throughout the Southwest, Southeast, and in Maui, in Hawaii. I want to reiterate that appreciation today. I also convened my entire cabinet as part of a whole of government response. And that response is to increase the number and intensity of the extreme weather events and be wary we're going to use all the resources available to the government to do it.
Wow. I mean, I'm not surprised. Part of the problem, though, is that because he's so incompetent, people will just say that he didn't mean that, you know. But he did say that the entire cabinet, as part of a whole of government, you heard what he said here.
Part of a whole of government response. And that response is to increase the number
and intensity of the extreme weather events.
And be wary we're going to use all the resources available to the government to do it.
We're going to use all the resources of the government to do it. Which leads us to this, the Department of Defense Directed Energy Weapons, Background and Issues for Congress, and the fact that it was updated August 22nd, just after the possible directed energy weapon attack on Maui. It cannot be disproved, and it cannot be proved, but this obviously exists. This type of weapon exists, and it has for some time. But they updated it again. That's so suspicious to me. Directed energy weapons use concentrated electromagnetic energy rather than kinetic energy to combat enemy forces. Although the United States has been researching directed energy since the 1960s, some experts have observed that the DoD has invested billions of dollars in DE programs that failed to reach maturity and were ultimately canceled. In recent years, however, DoD has made progress on directed energy weapons development, deploying the first operational U.S. DE weapon in 2014 aboard the USS Ponce. Since then, DE weapons development has continued, with DoD issuing directed energy roadmap to coordinate the department's efforts. DoD has also introduced a high-energy laser scaling initiative, which seeks to strengthen the defense industrial base for DE weapons and improve laser beam quality and efficiency. This report provides background information for Congress on DE weapons, including high-energy lasers, HELs, and high-powered microwave weapons, HPM, and outlines selected unclassified DoD, Air Force, Army, and Navy DE programs. If successfully fielded, HELs could be used by ground forces in a range of missions, including short-range air defense, counter-unmanned aircraft systems, and counter-rocket artillery and mortar missions. HPM weapons can provide a non-kinetic means of disabling adversary electronics and communications systems. That's good to know. Compared with traditional munitions, DE weapons could offer lower logistical requirements, lower costs per shot, assuming access to a sufficient power supply, deeper magazines. These weapons could, however, face limitations not faced by their kinetic counterpart. For example, atmospheric conditions, rain, fog, obscurance, could potentially limit the range and beam quality of DE weapons and in turn reducing their effectiveness. So there you go. In order to combat the laser, the directed energy weapon, fog, smoke machines, fog machines. DoD continues to invest in DE weapons, Congress may consider the weapon's technological maturity, lifecycle costs, characteristics, mission utility, industrial base, and this goes through what an energy weapon is. So that's, again, official DoD. This came out March 9th of 2021. DoD officials discuss quantum science, 5G, and directed energy. All very interesting, but we're going to scroll down to directed energy. James Trebas, principal director of directed energy, said there's been a lot of good development in directed energy after a number of years when there were some false starts. The technology provided by solid-state electric lasers, in particular, is really opening up a lot of opportunities. The industry is developing nicely. They're expanding their capability and investing their own money. We're funding a major effort in industry to build high-power lasers, he said. There's a multi-phase approach now underway with 4 companies under contract to make 300 kilowatt lasers, he said. The first will start arriving in 18 months and the last in about 24 months from now. So you come up here 18 months from March of 2021. That's pretty close to August of 2022, isn't it? January, April, May, June, July, August. 5 months short. Or 1 month short. I apologize. So 17 months. Though laser systems will be transitioned to the service for test and evaluation demonstrations, these are not laboratory lasers. These are transportable lasers intended to demonstrate real military capability. He added, these are not systems operated by PhD scientists in the lab. They're out there being run by enlisted personnel in the real world across different combatant commands. We're finding out what does work. How do you integrate these things? How do you maintain them? What doesn't work? This is where we learn what we really have to do. That's a critical part of what we do. As soon as those lasers are produced, the department will begin developing 500 kilowatt lasers, which will take 24 to 36 months. Then the department will immediately start developing megawatt lasers, he said. There's a clear, well-defined path to get to a very substantial laser capability, he said. There's a smaller effort in microwave technology area going on. Some other focus areas include missile defense. He said, we are closely tracking our adversaries' missile capabilities, cruise missile, hypersonic, and so forth. We're also looking at offensive strikes again. We come over here. Let's see, actually, this one's shorter. I'll show this one really quick.
The Department of Defense spends about $1 billion annually developing directed energy weapons, such as high-energy lasers and high-powered microwaves. These weapons can disrupt or destroy their targets at the speed of light. For example, DoD has developed high-energy lasers that have successfully shot down drones, but speed isn't their only advantage. They're also less expensive per use than traditional weapons like guns and missiles. Despite those potential advantages, DoD has had trouble getting these technologies out of the lab and into service. The Army has developed a detailed transition plan to support moving these weapons into the next stages of development. We recommended that the Navy and the Air Force develop similar plans.
Possible thanks to my partner Raytheon. Laser weapons are about to change war forever, and I want to show you how. I think there are 3 main reasons the world is in this laser weapons arms race right now. First, to combat the immediate problem of the rise of small, inexpensive drone warfare. Second, to destroy incoming cruise and hypersonic missiles. And third, to blind the enemy's satellites that control their navigation and command abilities.
The new weapons being built to disable or destroy threats thousands of miles above us, and the crippling consequences for a nation reliant on space.
The Kremlin announced the deployment of special laser weapons in May 2023. It's called the Parasevit, which is a ground-based anti-satellite laser. Open source numbers reveal Russia currently has 6 operational right now. The Parasevit is designed to interrupt or destroy reconnaissance satellites from the ground with an alleged range of 1,500 kilometers or 930 miles. Now, it accomplishes this by dazzling the sensitive lenses and electronic equipment with a high-powered beam. This is different from the thermal combustion method that anti-drone and missile lasers use, requiring a less energy-dense beam and thus allowing for a much longer effective range. So if Russia's telling the truth about their laser capabilities, which is a big if, it would put the range of satellites in low Earth orbit within the kill zone of the Parasevit. This includes Starlink and constellations of satellites essential for Ukrainian and the US command and control that operate at an altitude of around only 550 kilometers, according to their website. According to Space Force officials, China and Russia already have directed energy capabilities that are designed to damage or destroy our satellites. So as a result of this, what we see is the French government is investing approximately $5 billion into acquiring laser weapons as part of their modernization efforts. The US military is investing $1 billion a year into directed energy weapons. Weapons like the Paracivit are actually remnants of legacy laser weapons that focus on long-range strategic targets like satellites. Developing lasers for the purpose of hitting large, faraway targets is a concept that actually goes all the way back to the Cold War. Laser weapons research began in the 1960s as a kind of moonshot, a reach goal that people actually originally mocked. The United States looked to directed energy weapons in order to target and destroy nuclear-armed intercontinental ballistic missiles. If you had the ability to destroy all the enemy's incoming nukes with lasers, you would have a major advantage. President Ronald Reagan named the program after Star Wars, the movie, which premiered in 1977. By 1986, missile defense technology had an annual budget of $3 billion. Unfortunately, however, the program to laze the nukes was ultimately abandoned due to complications in trajectory, scale, and maintaining beam integrity over long distances.
A look at what's going on today with the Space Development Agency and the Missile Defense Agency, they're actually embracing for the space layer key ideas that were being raised in the late 80s and early 90s.
This original idea of defending the homeland against nukes with laser technology was by far the most difficult mission set that you could imagine for the weapon. But this program created a lot of the fundamentals and basics. It laid the groundwork for the practical laser weapons of today. While the US struggled with the tech, the Soviet Union began its own secret space laser program, known only to researchers as SCIF. The satellite-based laser was developed not only for intercontinental ballistic missiles, but primarily was a laser to destroy the constellation of satellite lasers the US was developing in the Star Wars program. The Soviets actually made more progress than the Americans and launched a prototype into space for testing in May 1987.
Okay, so I'm gonna come here. This is the most replayed part of the video.
The United States and Russia already spent billions of dollars and decades of research in directed energy development, only to fail. What is driving laser weapons to completely revolutionize the way we fight wars today? Early in the war, when Kyiv was under attack, a crowd-funded group of 30 Ukrainian IT warriors used motorcycles, commercial off-the-shelf drones, and hand grenades to halt Russia's infamous 40-mile convoy. Since then, hundreds of videos on Twitter and Telegram brought the devastation of these small drones to the forefront of conversation. Footage posted on Twitter in July shows a $4 million Russian T-90 tank destroyed by a Ukrainian FPV drone that retails for under $2,000. And one of the most shocking parts of all this is that there really wasn't any good countermeasures to these cheap drones. Lasers of the Cold War were originally...
So he goes on quite some time, and so I'll have that link down below. But I bring this up because there's so much information out there. When people say things like Jewish space lasers, it's disingenuous. Okay, no one's saying anything about Jewish space lasers. We're talking about directed energy weapons, and that's a real thing. Obviously, the DoD, we spend a lot of money, taxpayer dollars, going to these weapons of war. I hate that. I try not to hate, but why do we always have to just make new weapons to kill each other? It's exhausting, and I am tired of it. One last video that I'm going to show you a few minutes of that you absolutely need to watch is from geoengineeringwatch.org, Wildfires as a Weapon. And this came out a year ago.
Truly shocking. Forest fire is a military weapon. Final report, June 1970. Yet more insanity from the military-industrial complex. This formerly classified U.S. military report provides in-depth detail on the methods the military uses to prepare vast swaths of forests for extremely intense wildfire incinerations. The United States Forest Service provided much of the data for the U.S. military. Question, is that really the job description for the Forest Service, to instruct the U.S. military on how to, quote, set the stage for maximum intensity wildfire incinerations by months-long atmospheric spraying of desiccants and defoliants? Are U.S. citizens and populations around the world now in the same category as the Viet Cong were during the U.S. invasion of Vietnam? Geoengineeringwatch.org has desperately tried to sound the alarm on this exact scenario and a half. Even more disturbing about this report is the fact that it includes specific data that outlines the best engineered wildfire incineration timing for various regions in the U.S. and other nations that are thought to be U.S. allies. One of the regions in the U.S. that is specifically covered in this report is Mount Shasta, California, my backyard. Top fire agency officials have repeatedly acknowledged the now unprecedented behavior of wildfires.
Every year is worse than the last. Why? All official sources refuse to or are unable to offer any valid explanation for the increasingly catastrophic fires and fire behavior. Why not?
Every single person that I've talked to so far has made the mention that I don't know why it's doing what it's doing. It's burning differently. It's burning more aggressive than it has in years past. And I know we say that every year, but it's unprecedented. It's burning in every direction all at the same time.
Other cities and regions that are rated for their incineration potential in this report include Washington, D.C., Florida, New Mexico, New York, South Carolina, Texas, Utah, Minnesota, and in the formerly Golden State of California, Los Angeles, Mount Wilson, Blue Canyon, and, as mentioned a moment ago, in my neck of the woods, Mount Shasta, California.
Okay, so I wanted to share this with you because a lot of people might link all of the fires to directed energy weapons, and I don't think that's the case. This proves that there are other means to start fires, and there are military plans on how to start fires. So, and not just start fires, but to make them extremely hot and dangerous. It's awful to think about, again, why do we have to continue to think of ways to destroy each other? I will never know. But obviously, Hawaii is a little bit different because they don't have tons of forests like all of the states that were just mentioned. So I'm going back to the directed energy weapon for a possibility because to me, there's no way that fire was natural. And there's definitely a ton of reasons why the land was necessary to the big government plans, and why, while the people of Maui would not sell, so they wouldn't sell, that land was needed. What would a billionaire do to get it? I hope that I shared some new information. I know that you've probably seen a lot of this. If you're on Twitter, it was going on constantly. There was just new information all the time. I will leave links down below for actual individuals that live in Maui, and they actually speak about it. I didn't have time to showcase all of them, but if you have time to do further research, I will have links in the description, a video that I haven't shown. And of course, I'll have the links to these. Tonight is the Green Charter Township Board meeting. If you are in this area of Michigan and can show up, please do. It doesn't matter if you're pro-Goshen or no-Goshen. Show up and use your voice peacefully and respectfully. I will be there. I've heard that the pro-Goshen individuals are planning their own meeting during the board meeting today, and that they actually are not going to show up. They say it's because we don't listen and we're aggressive and that we lie, but I have not been to a few meetings. I haven't seen any of that. I have seen people be upset, which you know that I always say that you should be as calm and articulate as you possibly can, because that is what human beings respond to, and that is how we should try to conduct ourselves. But there are people that are upset. It is their backyard that's being affected, and so we try to be understanding. Now, one more thing I have to say, the pro-Goshen individual there was one in particular that technically assaulted a no-Goshen individual. And so there's never been any kind of case where a no-Goshen assaulted a pro-Goshen. And so I don't understand what this fear is about not wanting to go to the meeting. But I will say I do not advocate violence, and I really hope that pro-Goshen individuals would go to this meeting. I would like to hear from both sides, and I know that you would too out there in the audience. And I'm hoping if they do continue to go to their private meeting, that I will be able to attend. I have asked. They are deliberating, and I really hope they allow me to come to their meeting so that I could show you the pro-Goshen side as well as the no-Goshen side. Even though I am no Goshen, I think that their voices deserve to be heard as well. So we'll see. Now, once again, I am sorry to all those individuals of Maui. I hope that the children are actually found unscathed. But the longer that this goes on, the less likely that is. And all of the government secrecy is just adding on to the suspicions. And I'm going to keep my eye out on it. I will try if there is enough information to share with you for another video, but I recommend the channel Hustle Bitch because he keeps up with it every day. I believe he's got a video of new information. And so if you want to keep up day to day, check that channel out. Pray for the people of Maui. Pray for the world. We have a lot going on. There's people with big plans, but we can combat them. We can. Strength in numbers and faith over fear, guys. I love you. Thanks for hanging out. And I will see you tomorrow, hopefully, on Turn the Page with Janine at 9 a.m. over at Rumble. Thank you, guys.